It's your boy, Joe Rogan. Joe Biden. Joe Namath. Barack Obama's VV. And the Corn Pop was a bad dude. Me and Hunter got matching tattoos. When we got money from Ukraine, gas companies, they paid in cash too. I was the first man to land on the moon. I invented the fork and spoon. The leader of a whole damn platoon. I helped Michael Jackson write his tunes. I was there at George Washington's birth. And when Peter invented the church, I taught Kelly Slater to surf. I'm the greatest president on earth. I was there when Abe Lincoln was shot. Me and Bob Norley smoked pot. Used to be a fireman and cop. I was there when 50 Cent was shot. Kids rubbed the hair on my legs. I'm the one who got out of debt. Robert Byrd was my good friend. Eulogized him when he was dead. Yeah, he was in the KKK. Who cares? Just vote them. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. Yeah, that's actually what I said. I was arrested during civil rights. Never mind, I was with the whites. I used to drive an 18-wheeler. I taught Mike Tyson how to fight. 3-letter word, J-O-B-S. No time for your BS. Check my face, I always seem stressed. I need a break, is it recess? Why are stairs so hard to climb? Like Logan Paul and KSI, I'm in my prime. High res, help me write these rhymes. 2 p.m., it's my nap time. You're a dog-faced lion pony soldier. Come on, man, let me sniff your kid. Whoops, I already did. If you don't vote for me, you're so mid. I went to an all-black college. Top of my class, I have knowledge. I'm so Polish, I'm mean polished. I used to work at the Olive Garden. I can relate to the people of Maui. How can I make this thing about me? My garage burnt down. Almost lost my wife, my Corvette and Audi. 4 kids are just as bright as whites. Come on, man, Uncle Joe is right. I'm honest Abe, I never lie. Me and Taylor Swift are really tight. I'll lead a strategy mobilizing true international of Russia. So if you want Biden 2026, vote for me this September. You're a lying, dog-faced phony soldier. Come on, man, you're a lying, dog-faced phony soldier. Come on, man, you're a lying, dog-faced phony soldier. Come on, man, you're a lying, dog-faced phony soldier. Come on, man, come on, man, come on.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. So, guys, I really had a change of heart. I was really wrong over the last few years. Why Joe Biden is the greatest president of all time. I made this book, and I want to try to convince you guys too. So, as you can see on page 1, this is for sure, in my opinion, I start off with some of the most convincing arguments about why he's the best. But if you go to, let's see, page 2, it's really hard to decide between page 2 and 3, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of pages of why I think Joe Biden is the greatest president of all time. So if you want to convince your friends the same thing, make sure you head over to presidentbidenbook.com and grab yourself one before they're gone. I appreciate y'all. Peace.
Hello, hello, hello. Oops, come on. There we go. Okay, let's started. My computer is very slow. I need to go through some tabs. Okay, I don't know how exciting this particular stream is going to be, but I was at the library with Lee One, and we were picking out some books, and I found a book about Joe Biden, and I thought this might be just fun to read and, have some side chat going as a way to connect to each other. So this is a learner book. It's a scholastic type learner book. And some other interesting people that they do Albert Einstein, Alexander Hamilton, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Anne Frank, Colin something Kaepernick. Dalai Lama is on the Frida Kahlo, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Nancy Pelosi, Queen Elizabeth II, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a second edition. So anyway, this is Joe Biden's book. So these would be in school libraries for children to check out. It's from 2021. To check out and learn about, hello frequency, Rich, William, Arkash was number one. Hello guys, I'm so excited. Yeah, that was a great one. And actually there's some more. So if I take a break between chapters, I'll play another little parody song. There's quite a few of them. And so I'm going to read until I get tired of reading. We'll play a parody song and then, so we can, have a break and get a tea or a smoke or whatever. So anyway, that's what I thought. This is Joe Biden from Scranton to the White House. How did he get there? And so, hey, Jerry. So here we go. Class, are you ready to learn about Joe Biden, everybody? He's from Scranton. Joe Biden had waited his whole career for this moment. On August 20th of 2020, he stood in the Chase Center in Wilmington, Delaware, without a crowd before him. But he didn't need one. Biden accepted the nomination to be Democratic Party candidate in the upcoming election for president of the United States. While the COVID-19 pandemic made large gatherings unsafe, it didn't stop supporters from turning out for Biden. The Democratic National Convention moved online and became a virtual hit. About 25 million people watched Biden speak on screen, while some dedicated supporters, Freudian slip. While some dedicated supporters showed up in the parking lot outside the Chase Center. Biden addressed the pandemic and promised to be the best leader that a better leader than President Donald Trump was. He also talked about leading the country forward on other issues such as economic crisis, climate change, and the need for racial justice. Here, quote, "Here and now I give you my word. If you entrust me with this presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst," Biden said. "I will be an ally of the light, not the darkness. And make no mistake, united we can overcome this season of darkness in America. We'll choose hope over fear, facts over fiction, fairness over privilege." Oh, thank God. Hello, Ulick. Biden promised to work hard for all Americans, even those who voted against him. Many believed it was the best speech of his career. While decades of experience in politics behind him, Biden was ready to run the highest office of all, and the win was within reach. Ooh. A struggling student. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was born on November 20th of 1942 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He was the first of 4 children. His father, Joseph Biden Sr., was a used car salesman who also cleaned furnaces. Joe's mother, Catherine Eugenia, or Jean Finnegan, was a strong force of guidance and love for Joe and his siblings. When Joe was 10, he and his family moved to Delaware. Frequency. Stop it. Behave yourselves. Growing up, Joe was bullied by other kids. They called him names and made fun of him for his stuttering. Jesus. I didn't know that. That's fantastic. They say that about Moses. Moses actually is stuttered. I mean, why God? I can't speak to millions of people. I stutter. That's what you can do it, Moses. You can do it, Biden. His parents taught him to be tough and stand up for himself, even if it meant physically fighting bullies in the neighborhood. I don't know if I'd be able to read this book with a straight face. Woo! Joe also worked on his speech. He memorized poetry and recited it in front of the mirror. He still stuttered, but he had more control over his words. Oh, he had Tourette's. My bad. Thank you, Rich. Fuck! I gotta get off this hill. Oh, man. Okay. This is him quoting. I never had professional therapy, but a couple of... Oh, my Jesus. Okay. Wait. I never had professional therapy, but a couple of nuns taught me to put a cadence to my speaking. And that's why I spent so much time reading poetry, Emerson and Yeats, he says. But even in my small boys prep school, I got nailed. I got nailed in Latin class with the nickname Joe Impedimenta. Joe Impedimenta. That was his nickname. He had an impediment. You get so desperate, you're so embarrassed. So we can all relate to him. Sister Mary Elephant. Okay. Joe dreamed of attending Archmere Academy, a private school across the street from his house. At the age of 14, he was accepted. He washed windows and weeded garden at the school to offset the tuition. He was... This is why I like raw reading, because just you come across stuff and you lose the moment. If I read it before, it won't be as funny. Okay. He was small and skinny, and but he became a star football player. He was also elected class president during his junior and senior years. The only election he lost was for captain of the football team. One of his proudest moments during high school was a more personal win. As a sophomore, he fulfilled a school requirement by speaking in front of the class. Oh, man. Ooh. That was his proudest moment when he was a sophomore and he fulfilled the school requirement for speaking in front of the class. After graduating in 1961, Biden went on to the University of Delaware. During his first 2 years of college, he focused more on football and parties than on his schoolwork. Maybe that's why he wasn't... There's nothing wrong with my kid. I did it. I don't know. But in his junior year, he became interested in politics, and he settled into studying history and political science. He kept the beatniks in line. Oh, man. That was funny. Okay. like in the Bahamas. Biden met Nelia Hunter. She studied English and teaching at Syracuse University. The two immediately hit it off. And after Biden graduated from the University of Delaware in 1965, he attended Syracuse University Law School so he could be close to Nelia. Nelia? While he studied law, she pursued her master's degree in English and taught at a public school. The couple married in 1966. I don't know. Oh, man. Okay. Biden already had dreams of going into politics and even becoming president of the United States. But he wasn't a stellar student in law school. During his first year, he was accused of plagiarism. He had failed to properly cite a reference to a law article. He claimed it was a mistake, but he still had to take the course over, and a letter about the incident was added to his file. Quote, "To me, law school was just like college. All I had to do was get through to graduation, and I could get moving on real life," Biden says. "The work didn't seem so hard, just boring, and I was a dangerous combination of arrogant and sloppy. I'm not sure I even bought all the books I was supposed to have first semester. And I was a less than frequent visitor to class." This is the guy ruling our country. That's great. "The truth is, I hadn't been to class enough to know how to do citations in a legal brief." Wow. Biden buckled down in order to pass his classes. His hard work paid off and he earned higher grades. He learned to love public speaking and he grew interested in a career as a trial lawyer. And I just want to say that on the side page of this, it's got a little blip here. So on the page that's telling us that he was a total loser in college, frat boy party kid that we see in the movies, it has a little square here that has him, of course. Biden embraces Braden in 2020, hugging a kid, Braden. And it says giving back. Biden has worked hard on his speaking skills, and he helped others to do the same. One person he helped was Braden Harrington, a 13-year-old boy he met on the 2020 campaign trail. You're going to notice some 13s in Biden's story here. This isn't the first one you'll see. When Biden heard Braden stutter, he invited him backstage to talk. Biden explained how that's like a rock star on stage going, "That girl right there in the front row with the tits. I want that one." And get her a backstage pass. Biden explained how he worked on his stutter and how he marked his speeches to make them easier to deliver. Braden later used the technique when he delivered a speech supporting Biden at the Democratic National Convention. He said he felt more confident since talking with Biden and urged people to vote for him. Go Braden. Woo woo. Okay. Starting out. In 1968, Biden graduated from law school near the bottom of his class. Despite his grades, people knew he was ambitious and could work hard. He'd do whatever we said. His law school file was filled with recommendations from professors, and he landed a job with a law firm in Delaware. After a short time there, Biden realized it wasn't the right place for him. The firm represented big corporate, oh, for Pete's sakes. Oh, man. Can you smell the green movement showing up? Ooh, la, 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 la. Okay. The firm represented big corporations. He wanted to represent individuals who needed help. In 1969, he began to work. In other words, he wasn't cutting it there, and he thought, I'll just go to like the little people. He wasn't cutting it at a big corporations. I have a feeling this guy's come from a long line of just completely fucking up. That year, he and Nelia had their first child, Joseph Robinette Biden III, whom they call Beau. As an attorney and father, Biden was much more driven than he had been as a student. He and Nelia invested in real estate. Biden also took an additional work management and private swimming pool, so the family could live on a country club grounds for free. Oh, that's what he did. He had an additional job to cleaning the swimming pool. In 1970, the family grew with the birth of Robert Hunter Biden, known as Hunter. Nobody's read this book. The pages are still stuck together. Biden was busy, but he still had an interest in politics. He spent Wednesday evenings at Democratic Forum meetings, and soon he ran for the Newcastle County Council. Say that 5 times fast. The area was mostly Republican, but with Nelia's support, he decided to do it. His sister Val ran his campaign, and Biden spent a lot of time going door to door, talking to voters about how he could help them. When he won the election in November, he took his first political position as a member of the county council. His work aligned with his values. Oh, good. Rich. Loser now. That's funny. And I'm sorry. Starting to sound like him now, Joanie. Biden was busy. Oh, I said that. Okay. He spent Wednesday evenings at a Democratic Forum meetings, and soon he ran. Then I said that, didn't I? Yes. Okay, hang on. Let me see where I'm at. I laughed so hard I made myself dizzy. Right. Okay. Remember, his work aligned with his values. I should remember that. That's all. That's exactly the idea that comes to my mind when I see Joe. Well, at least his work aligns with his values. Can't fault him for that. He's quoting himself here. My first year on the county council, I became known as the guy who took on the builders and the big corporations. TGWT, OTB, ATBC, also known as, for short. That's for short. That's what he was known as. He was known as the guy who took on builders and the big corporations, he said. I was all for businesses creating jobs and wealth, but I thought the companies would owned a fair accounting for the real costs. Biden and Nelia grew even busier when their third child, Naomi Christina Biden, was born in 1971. That year, Biden worked on building his own law firm and strengthening the Democratic Party in his state. He joined with other Democratic leaders to form Democratic Renewal Commission to modernize the party and its campaign techniques so it would be more relevant to voters. That was nice. They began looking for strong candidates who could run for one of Delaware U.S. Senate seats down the following year. Everyone they had asked turned them down. Biden was shocked when 2 elders of the Delaware Democratic Party eventually asked him, quote, my initial reaction was, I don't think I'm old enough, he said. I had to do the math. He's not quite old enough yet. And it shows a picture of Biden celebrating his 30th birthday with Nelia and their sons there. According to the U.S. Constitution, senators must be at least 30 years old. Biden would turn 30 and just in time to be sworn in if he was elected. It was a long shot to run against the Republican incumbent J. Caleb Boggs, who had been in office since 1946, but Biden's whole family was behind him and willing to help. Once again, Bao ran his campaign. His brother Frank recruited young volunteers, I bet he did, and his brother Jimmy took on fundraising. His mother, Anelia, organized hundreds of events throughout the state where Biden could meet and talk personally with voters. He also educated himself by meeting with professors, lawyers, and judges to learn more about the issues. Biden knew he had to be sharp when it came to understanding the tax code, the Vietnam War, the environment, crime, and other important issues. By the time he publicly announced his intention to run, Biden was ready not just for the race, but for the job ahead. In November 1972, he was elected to the U.S. Senate. He would be the country's 5th youngest senator in history. Holy shit! This story is getting very exciting. So I think we need a puff, puff, drink, drink, break. Dribble, dribble, break. I'm going to play another Joe Biden parody video. So hang on, there's another one here. Okay, we'll do this one. Is it going to play it? Okay, here we go.
Pulling back, life's hard, you know. When entering in the Cadillac, if you wanna know where it stops, it ends in dementia, and the cops they sing and dance. When finding the confidential docs, then they arrest all his men while Putin laughs in the Kremlin, and the Chinese know he's owned by them and Ukrainians. All the cops in the DOJ say. Walk like a Joe Biden. Walk like a Joe Biden.
Okay. All right. Who's the book appealing to? It's actually not a first grade book. Judging by it, I'm going to say it's probably more for like 4th and 5th grade, maybe 3rd grade. I mean, it's not a picture book. It is, it has some pictures in it, and it's very wordy. So, I would say it's probably more for the 4th to 4th grade, roughly. Okay. Oh, interesting. Arcash, is it Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice. That's supposed to be going. Oh, that's fabulous, Arcash. Keep us updated. Arcash is watching the light flashing by Orion's belt. Okay, so now we're going to go to. We just heard that he would be the country's 5th youngest senator in history. The next chapter, tragic loss, new beginnings. Winning the Senate seat was a major victory for Biden and his family. Even before he took office, the media started predicting he was headed to the White House. Biden felt the pieces of his life had fallen into place. He had a loving wife, 3 beautiful children, and a successful start to a political career. Christmas was only a week away when Biden left Delaware with Val to do some work in Washington, D.C. Nelia stayed home to finish shopping with the kids. Biden and Val were together in an office when a call came in from Jimmy. Nelia and the children had been in a car accident. Biden had to go home right away. It was worse than anyone wanted to tell Biden on the phone. His wife and daughter had died in the crash. Bo had several broken bones. Hunter had head injuries. Angry and upset, Biden focused on caring for his sons. I could not speak. I only felt this hollow core grow in my chest, like I was going to be sucked inside a black hole, Biden said. Most of all, I was numb, but there were moments when the pain cut through like a shard of broken glass. Biden's Senate seat no longer felt important. He considered giving it up. But as the week passed, he realized Nelia wouldn't want him to walk away from the victory they'd fought for together. He decided to try the job for 6 months, but he refused to leave his boys to go to Washington, D.C. to be sworn in. Instead, on January 5th of 1973, he was sworn into office in the Wilmington Hospital where Bo and Hunter were staying. Wow! Biden takes the office of the oath of office in the hospital where his son. Man, that sounds like one of those Illuminati hits, don't it? Like, do you want to be a famous rapper? Maybe that first song was more accurate. It's going to cost you your brother, or your mom, or your wife. Biden felt he had to keep going with his political career. He had to be a professional, but his joy and passion for the job were gone. When the boys were released from the hospital, Val and her husband moved in with the family to help take care of them. Each day, Biden took an Amtrak train to his job in Washington, D.C. The round trip took 3 hours, but he gained time with his boys in the morning before dropping them off at school, and he was home in time to tuck them in at night. Over time, he earned a nickname among his colleagues. Amtrak Joe, they called him. All he really cared about was getting home to his sons and proving he would always be. Man, that sounds really not appropriate. And it says on here, Biden still enjoys traveling via the Amtrak trains. He's a little obsessive of a parent, is what that sounds to me. Like, your narcissist slip is showing. Your narcissist slip is showing. He was there the minute they woke up to the minute they went to bed. There he is. I'm here again. Amtrak Joe. So he could be there all the time for his boys. The boys healed, and Biden began to see how lucky he was to work with so many people in the Senate who cared about him. They invited him to dinners and insisted he show up. His friend Fritz Hollings made a point of making him feel wanted. And Hollings' wife, Pete always confirmed the time and place beforehand. Biden grew closer to his friend Stuart Symington, who had also recently lost his wife. Jesus! Welcome to the club, man. There's your black eye. Biden started to feel more comfortable in his new life and more interested in the issues he faced as a U.S. Senator. He's beginning to rebuild his life. He was quoted as saying, "As time passed and the day of the accident receded, I found I was happy to be there and fully engaged. The issue is the issues in my first term were not small, he says. So he had a big mountain to climb first term. That's a lot. But he did it, Amtrak Joe. 2 years after the accident, Biden's life began to change again. After reluctantly agreeing to a blind date set up by his brother Frank, he fell in love with Jill Jacobs, an English teacher. His boys fell in love with her too. And one morning, 7-year-old Bo told him they decided he should marry Jill. So Bo says, 7-year-old Bo says, just in case they're following along in the number game. So he reluctantly went on a blind date with his brother Frank. Let's be frank. Her name is Jill, and you have an arranged marriage. And you always had it. It was always Jill. Biden agreed and proposed. You know, killing a wife would really help your career, because I just know that if my ex was ever running for anything that was major, he certainly wouldn't want me around. He certainly would want me to not be anywhere, the things that I know, you know. So that's a good, you know, that was actually a really good political move on his half, because she might know things. Okay. Jill loved him and the boys, and she's been married and divorced, and but she had been married and divorced before, and she took her time making a decision. Biden proposed 4 more times before she said, geez, she had to ask her 5 times to marry him. That's what it says there. After the 5th time, she says, fuck. Because she had Tourette's too. Oh, man. Okay. Biden agreed and proposed. Oh, wait. Yeah, right. Okay. Biden proposed 4 more times before she said yes. In 1977, Biden and Jill were married with Bo and Hunter. The Bo and Hunter, like a bow and hunter. Very clever. Standing by them at the altar. They became a blended family that included the memories of Nelia and Naomi. In 1978, Biden won re-election to the Senate. In 1981, he and Jill had a baby girl, Ashley Blazer Biden. Despite his tragic losses, Biden was picking up the pieces and building a new life. Oh. This is so sad. I'm glad to see that you guys are having fun in the chat as much as I am reading this. Oh, man. So Hunter was raised in intensive care. Fuck, Rich, that's a profound fucking statement, man. Geez, so Hunter was raised. Yes, he was overprotected. Wow. No wonder. And we keep saying that because, you know, if you overindulge your children, they become psychopaths as adults. Oh, man, we're going to have a lot of that. John Jacobs. Jingerheimer Schmidt. Oh, man. First, he forgot he had the first 3 times. Jill Jacobs. Yeah, it would be a JJ, wouldn't it? Poker. Okay. Oh, man. Well, you have to write it right. You have to put in things. Okay. All right. Where were we in our study? All right. Hang on. The teacher needs a little smoke break here. I could mute, but fuck it. Okay. We're rotten here, right? Okay. So the next bit, when it shows a picture of them. Oh man. And it also has like this little boy crying, or he's wiping his eyes in the picture. The pictures are in a little red coat with a white suit pants, and a little boy there. They're taking some kids out. All right. A bid for Biden. As Biden continued his career in the Senate, he distinguished himself as a leader by expanding his knowledge and taking strong stances on important issues. Some of his opinions were controversial. While he supported civil rights, he voted against forcing the Department of Education to bus students in order to desegregate schools. He also supported tough crime laws, such as the Comprehensive Crime Control Act and the Anti-Drug Act of 1986. Both laws expanded penalties for drug crimes. Little did he know that was going to come back and bite his son in the ass. Okay. In 1987, Biden became chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, a group of 22 senators that oversee the Department of Justice. That year, he decided to make a run for the highest office in the country. On June 9th in Wilmington, he launched a campaign to become President of the United States. If elected, he would become the country's third youngest president at 44 years of age. He was considered by quite a few people as a bright new hope, different from other Democrats, said Lawrence I. Barrett, the former Times Magazine political correspondent. But in September of 1987, Biden made a grave error at the Iowa State Fair. Oops! He plagiarized part of his speech given by Neil Kinnock, a politician running for office in the United Kingdom. The media ran with the story and soon discovered another speech Biden had plagiarized in February. Oh man. Let's just stop for a second here because it's got a couple pictures here. And on this one, it says Biden on busing. So it mentioned that he was for, racial justice, but he didn't think that the state should bus people out of their ghettos into the nice areas, I guess. So it says busing, Biden on busing. As a first-term U.S. Senator, Biden had to fully understand the issues the country was facing. One of those issues involved busing students. In the 1970s, busing was used to integrate schools that were segregated by race. When the Senate decided the U.S. Department of Education should mandate busing, Biden opposed the idea. Kamala Harris, who became a senator in 2017, challenged Biden on his position when the two ran for the 2020 nomination. She was bused to school as a little girl and believed Biden should have supported busing. Biden explained that he did support integrating schools, but he opposed busing in the 1970s because he didn't believe the federal government should force schools to do it. After Biden became the Democratic Party nominee for president, he chose Harris as his running mate. Of course he did. Oh, wow. This is just getting more freaking fascinating by the minute. Did anybody know any of these things? Okay. Okay. So, then I'm going to go back to read this again because that was fascinating. I'm just blown away how this guy ever got elected. Okay. It says so. Okay, so it says the media ran with the story and soon discovered another speech Biden had plagiarized in February. A video surfaced in which he spoke angrily to a voter and exaggerated his academic records. Reporters also uncovered Biden's plagiarism in law school. This was in 1987 that these things were coming to light. He still managed to make it through. How many dicks did this guy have to suck? Fuck. All right. Biden denied purposefully plagiarizing or misstating the facts, but he was unable to recover from the negative press. Now, that's just total narcissism to just repeat it and then just, it was another, oops, I didn't mean it. My dick just fell in her pussy. It just fell in. I wasn't paying it. I was all just over here thinking of other things. I didn't know. Nobody told me. I wasn't there in the day in class where they told me how to cite things. So I didn't know how to cite things. That's a dumb excuse. Obviously, he was citing things in the paper, just not everything. I don't know. Obviously, he copied it from the book. Wow. Okay. That's what they do. Wasn't me. She caught me in the bathroom. It wasn't me. I swear. Okay. He denied purposely plagiarizing or misstating the facts, but he was unable to recover from the negative press. On September 24th of 1987, he withdrew from the race. It was a disheartening time for his career, but in February of 1988, he had plans to get out and face the public again. So he had a whole year to, wow, I would never even would have run for office. I mean, this is just, I would have been so freaking humiliated. That's the difference between them and me. He accepted invitations to speak at the University of Rochester, the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York, and Yale University in Connecticut. He prepared himself to answer difficult questions and prove that he was staying on the path of public service. He was on probation. Despite his tough-minded resolve, Biden couldn't shake off the physical problems he'd started experiencing. He carried pain relief. Did the librarians? This reminds me of that other book that I read about the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So you remember me reading that book and how much they just made these people look like dirtbags. Pompous fucking pricks wrote that thing, our Constitution, in a children's book at the library at school. Do you know what I mean? And I'm reading this. How could any teacher read this with a straight face, or anybody read this and think twice? I mean, this book is literally a confession. It's as if I've got the priest handed me, here's all the good things he's done. Here's all the shitty things he's done. I mean, this is just unfucking believable. This is a public school. So this book sits alongside the same shelves that talk about rainbows and pronouns. The schools are full of the truth. I mean, maybe this is good to be in there. It would shock me. Anybody might read this and and not think, that's the luckiest motherfucker I've ever heard of. Keep reading, Joanie. Jeez. All right. I'm going to. That's exactly what I'm thinking, Rich. They are not helping this man's cause. But then at the same time, if I was somebody who sat on the other side of the fence, so if I take myself out of my totally awesome, Chuck Taylors or Doc Martens, and I go and I sit myself in a pair of pumps. This is what they read. They read it differently. They read, I've been embarrassed before. They read, oh, I've lost someone before. I've I've gotten in trouble at school, or I was a party goer at school. Like everyone identified, they've got all their sides covered. There isn't one crime he hasn't committed, from plagiarism to cocaine, that we can't identify with. Even throwing the racism in there for a minute. Yeah, but I was for it. I wasn't all the way against it. I just didn't think it was my place. That is just fucking nuts. Okay. Where was I? Despite his, so here I'm relating to him now, despite his tough-minded resolve. I got through it. I can do anything. Biden couldn't shake off the physical problems he'd started experiencing. He carried pain relievers with him everywhere for continuous headaches. He developed pains in his neck and numbness on his side. A doctor gave him a neck brace and special exercises to do. Biden carried on with his travel plans. Do you see what I mean? Oh, they're going to come out and tell me this whole time this guy's only retarded because of his trauma, because of how he experienced life, losing his wife. That had a traumatic effect on his body. And now these are the signs. So my being dumb or repeating myself or falling downstairs, that's all what you guys are dealing with. I have the same problem you do. Numbness. Oh, it's clever. All right. Okay. He developed pains in his neck and his numbness on his right side. A doctor gave him a neck brace, and he did special exercises, but it didn't stop him. He kept traveling on. On February 9th, Biden felt good after an exceptionally warm reception at the University of Rochester. He went to his hotel room planning to order some food. The next thing he knew, he was waking up on the floor, disoriented and in terrible pain. By the time he got to the hospital, doctors didn't expect him to live. He had had a brain aneurysm that was bleeding and required surgery. Even if he survived, his brain might be damaged. Doctors warned he could lose his speech. Oh, man. And on his head was a fatal wound. He's the Antichrist. Oh, my God. Okay. Biden survived the surgery without damage to his brain, but recovery would be a long and difficult road. He developed a blood clot in his lung that required another hospital stay and operation. The doctors caught another aneurysm before this could burst. Biden had undergone surgery to repair it. Holy, he's got like the Hitler syndrome now, where he keeps dodging death. And he starts to think that he's invincible. Months passed before Biden was able to return to his normal life. During his recovery, Biden learned Michael Dukakis had won the Democratic Party nomination for president. Dukakis would run against George H.W. Bush in the November election. Biden's first public appearance was at an event in Delaware in late August. Quote, all I wanted to do was assure them that I was back to serve in the Senate to the best of my abilities. I had a lot of time to think about my past and my future, and I wanted to be in the Senate for years to come. For good or for ill, I was a public man. I was a lucky man, to be sure. Okay. Oh, Okay, he was a lucky man for sure. Okay, that puts us about halfway through and about an hour in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this, and I might come back later this evening, and you know, because I've got to make salads and things very soon. So yeah, I'll come back and read some more later. I think it's kind of fun. I think you guys are great in the chat. I think you're, you know, you're funny. You're playing along. I appreciate the fact that you get what I am doing here and why I am bothering to read this book. I checked this book out of the library. I was looking, we've been learning about states. And this is the crazy thing. Now, let me just tell you this little story. Stick with me for a second. I'm at the public library with my wee one. We have been learning the states and mapping them out and writing them and finding them on maps. And we've been practicing with recognition of states. And so I wanted to check out a book for her about the states. I thought we could find something that maybe had a little, you know, knowledge about each and every state. You would think that there would be a book, but not in my library. There wasn't. In fact, there absolutely wasn't any books about any states. They only had books about politics and world geography. So I could have checked out lots of books about other places in the world, but not America. Found that very interesting. So while I was looking, that's where I came across this. This is where the state books were, you know, the geography books were sandwiched between the political books or the president books, the books about the American presidents, the frontiers, the revolution, all of the historical books, but none about any states. But anyway, we have a small library, and the lady wrote it down to get one. She said, I'm going to write that on my list. That's funny. We don't have one. I said, well, that would be great. She goes, I'll put it on my list. And it just caught my eye. And I've just thought, oh, I got to see this. And when you realize that this is what goes into public schools, this is a book that is in public schools for school-age children, roughly around 10, 11, 12 to check out, probably do a book report if they have to do a book report on the president. So it is not a baby book. It's not going to be it's going to be definitely over second grade. So second grades are going to be more, you know, novels that are going to still have pictures in them, much longer stories with a picture. And it's about third grade or 9 years old that you can start doing chapter books and books that have this much. No, if I started reading this to my second grader, they would totally fall asleep. This would be a great book. So it's definitely geared towards the older children, but it is in the school libraries. So now it kind of makes me want to go, because this does not paint a very good picture of this man. And I'm halfway through. So I don't know how they're going to resurrect his career here. But anyway, I'm going to finish reading it because I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I do find this quite interesting. And it is fun to kind of sarcastically read it. Okay. I'll see you guys later.